Hello. This is Ken here. Hope all is well wherever you are. It's been quite a while since I did the last video, so I think the timing was just right in terms of where we are today in the space. As you can see on my chart, I have the Bitcoin chart on a daily time frame. So just wanted to congratulate everyone that we have reached the all-time high. I think it basically I think it was on Coinbase, we hit just about like 69,200. So we broke the previous all-time high back in 2021 in November. So it's been a hard slog, in terms of that price that totally sold off from what levels? From November 16, from about 69 all the way down to the lows of November, a year later, November 2022, when it tested 15,900, and since then we've just been gradually moving higher. It's been a phenomenal move thereafter. So just wanted to recap, show you where we are and see where the next steps are. So we've seen a clear movement to the upside. Obviously this tends to be buoyed by what's happened in terms of the approval of the Bitcoin ETF that took place. It's just been phenomenal inflows that's been moving into the market, which, as you can see here, even today, we've seen $562 million worth of inflows into the Bitcoin ETF. So this is just phenomenal, and massive supply shocks taking place, outpacing the current market supply of Bitcoin by 10 times. So we've just seen a phenomenal movement in regards to where we are. If you even break down further, you can just see that consistent growth, that consistent flow of net inflows that's higher than the supply of the outflows. So, and it's just continued to move. So there's huge demand, and what we're actually seeing, that the demand's not actually coming from the retail. The demand's coming from the institutional investors, from the hedge funds, from the pension funds, mutuals, and so on and so forth. And that's where the smart money is. That's where the large, big money, and that they're essentially directing the whole market. And what we have to do is really just play and act accordingly. It's quite funny that if you basically just take your hands away and then just make sure that you're in these longer term positions, you will definitely, high percentage of the time that you would show better return on investment than looking at short-term trading, looking at short-term speculation. The best is just more long-term momentum type plays. I think that's where you'll just see the phenomenal returns. So the ETF inflows are continuing going on. We do have the Bitcoin halving that's coming up probably towards the end of April. So this is quite an important time. And the last one was in 2020. So ultimately, when you take a look at the block rewards will obviously decrease. So it's currently here, as you can see, 6.25. For every block that's mined, it will now decrease to 3.125. And obviously that will diminish in terms of block reward as it approaches that 1 Satoshi essentially. So we can take a look at what's happened prior to that in 2011, where we were from 50 in terms of the rewards mined, all the way half to 25. And then we're looking to see what's happened with the price as well as it's continued to move. So sometimes you do tend to get a slight move to the high upside, then a dip, but net, the continued movement in the price to the upside, breaking the highs, is absolutely phenomenal. So we've got the halving taking place in just just shy of 2 months, less than 2 months now. So I think people have their eyes to see how that market moves. So in terms of the ETF flows coming in, the halving, that's really, really important, which is also crucial. We have to also take a look at, I believe that there'll be a lot more movement in regards to pension funds, Senate, in terms of state funds advancing. As you can see here, the concurrent resolution seeks to encourage pension fund managers to consider crypto in their allocation. So I think we'll start to see a lot of states that will be seeing how they could be able to add this, i.e. pension funds, add this part of the portfolio. So we'll see continued move to the upside, I believe, over the next year or so. And then not only with the pension funds, the state funds, here it says here the state Senate passed the resolution in a 16-13 vote last month. Senators followed party lines with all Democrats voting against the measure. So you can be able to just go through the whole process to see where we move in that direction. But it's clear that people are, state, that pension funds are really seeing the opportunities for the people that obviously for the pensions. I think also you have to take a look at sovereign wealth funds, which is quite interesting. Qatar's sovereign wealth fund ready to adopt Bitcoin. That's the question. We have seen actually since last year a huge amount of, it's like an automated buys and buying Bitcoin that's taken place. So potentially there could be some sovereign funds that's already positioned, and I wouldn't be surprised. Here it says, over the weekend, Bitcoin Atlantis conference took place in Madeira, and Bitcoin thought leaders gathered to discuss the future of growing $1 trillion asset, and such as Emir of Qatar's private jets, rumors suggesting that representatives from the oil-rich state were there to hear the Bitcoiners pitch. So, we have to see what happens where this moves. Here it says, since the news of El Salvador's adopting Bitcoin had a slightly lackluster effect on the price. Obviously, we saw what happened. Really, I wouldn't primarily say specifically about Bitcoin, but the macro view in terms of inflation, in terms of the quantitative tightening that took place, right? But now we've seen that the rates have been paused for the last couple of decisions in the US. And I believe towards the end of this year or early next year after the elections, US, there will be a decrease in the interest rates. And I think then you'll start to see more liquidity coming into the market. So it's all moving. There's a bit of a confluence taking place here. So these are some of the things to also be aware of. One thing to note, which is quite interesting, although we've reached the all-time highs in Bitcoin, this is from Ignis DeFi Research, the fundraising hasn't really moved according to the price. So if you go back to 2020, we actually had where the price of Bitcoin, if you can see here, this price, as the price was moving higher, we saw obviously the amount raised in green was also moving according to the price, which is interesting. But then after the sell-off that took place, 2020, let's say the top of 220, December 2021, all the way down the next year and a half, 2 years, so 2023, we've just seen a gradual month-to-month decline in funds that are being raised. So up until September, we need to see more data over the last 3 to 6 months or so. Since then, I think we probably will see a bit of a spike, but we didn't really see that in the last quarter of 2023. So I expect to see more VC funds being raised, not just from the tier one VCs, but I also just see a lot of allocation towards that. So time will tell and see how that moves forward, which is crucial. So I think it's all in line. Just be aware, be positioned. I do also see, as we've actually tested that high today at that 69,200 level, we did see quite a sharp pullback. If I go down to a smaller time frame, quite a sharp pullback from that level, all the way tested about 63,000. But it's something not to really worry about. I do see some of the returns that have been amassed over the last few quarters will soon, whether the next quarter or so, soon start to seep into alts. So, the leading alts. So whether it's the L1 plays, whether it's the DeepIn plays, whether it's the raw asset plays, whether the AI plays, just something to be aware of to position yourself. So I'm back. Been a while, I'm back, and we'll be cracking on with more content, more information, more education. And if you have any questions, let me know. Take care.